she's back. Okay, our next applicant this evening is Mr. Randolphe Roulier, if I'm saying that correctly. Roulier. And feel free to pour yourself a glass of water at the table if you'd like to before we get started. And this evening we will go around and each of us will ask you a question. And to start out this evening with your interview is Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman.
Nobody else is going to ask my question first.
There you go.
I am really interested in hearing about your involvement on the district school improvement team. What your role is and how you got on it and what you see the benefit to the school district.
I had the opportunity to join approximately 2 years ago, and was asked to serve on it, serve as a member at large from the community, represent some of the interests, and just bring sort of a parent's perspective to the committee. As you're probably well aware, it's quite a well-rounded with a lot of different viewpoints and perceptions. So, but I brought from a parent's perspective, and what I saw, what I thought, and it was pretty interesting, just coming from a parent's perspective and being involved with the kids that were part of the DSIT too. It was it gave me a real good understanding just how varied you can look at a problem but trying to understand and put forth solutions. Everybody, once they got to a common understanding of what that issue was, everybody pulled the rope in the right direction. We seemed to get to some real good, meaningful answers, and then put forth some solutions. So my involvement with it was just as that, just being a parent and trying to give my perspective and my insight into some of the issues that came up with trying to create some of that vision statements that's I think still in process of being developed too.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
As a board member, we're called on to make some tough decisions for the good of the district. Would you be able to put aside personal opinions and ideas so that you can consider what's best for the district in forming your vote, your decision?
Let me answer that this way, in that part of why I'm putting my application is I think my experiences and my beliefs and my involvement with this community, so that personal touch is part of what would help me get to what I would think would be the best decision at any point in time, given something that would come up, to the board. I'm not sure I could come to the board meetings and not have all of those community personal experiences not be part of my decision-making process. So while that would certainly influence how I would look at things, ultimately what I'd want to get to is make the best decision for the school, the kids, the district, and the community. So I don't know whether or not that answers your question, but
that answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Burton.
Good evening. Thank you very much for putting in your application and being willing to serve the community in this way. My question to you is, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that would face the district right now, and how do you think your experiences may be an asset to this board in meeting those challenges?
I don't mean to state the obvious, but of course the funding issue is certainly big right now, and there's no hiding from that. It's trying to to jump into and figure out with what's being proposed and coming out of Lansing what our next steps are. I do think there are things that we, as a district, as a community, are going to have to look at. There are no easy answers. If they all were, we'd be able to do them. As far as what I think I can bring to the board in this time at this juncture, I think there's a number of qualities, and that's why I submitted my application. One of them that had a lot of both leadership, managerial experience in my workplace, dealing in large corporations locally. I have a very prominent healthcare background, and given the costs that are associated with what we're dealing with right now, healthcare is certainly a major cost that goes into any human resource intense entity, and schools with that. So I would hope to bring that background and maybe share that knowledge with going forward, and that expertise there too. And lastly, I'm a proud member of this city, and I think that pride is one of the types of things that makes you want to see the best. And schools are certainly an important aspect of making this community as popular as it is. So I want to see that continue, and those are some of those attributes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Do you have any specific goals as a potential board member?
We'll get through this interview as one. And then, as is what's on the table right now, is there's a 9-month process, just to serve out the remainder of the existing term. Goals other than to just share, again, what talents I've got in that 9-month period is really what I'm striving to do. I don't know that I have a hidden agenda or anything other than that. I felt at this point in time, given that there's a vacancy, and that given the times we're dealing with, I just as soon be here as someone else, because I have confidence that I can help this board, help this district, and help our kids.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Again, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you.
What qualities and behaviors do you feel are necessary in a board member?
Well, I think if you decide to volunteer your time and your services, you take on the responsibility of representing yourself in a way that makes the district proud to have you. And the quality should be one that our role, the role of the board, being one that tries and promote the success of our children, tries to advance our vision. You have to have some leadership qualities too. You have to be willing to take on tough issues and make right decisions. So the qualities, I think the attributes that someone has to be someone that's got good character. They're willing to express their opinions. They're willing to work with others and collaborate with their peers. And all the while, represent the community in an outstanding way.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. May?
Thanks. This is my first time to go last, and I don't like it.
Okay.
You've answered
Well,
things.
we can skip right by
You've
it.
answered. You don't know me well.
No.
I like to hear myself. I like to ask
Okay.
the questions. Sorry, it's nothing against you. But on a serious note, we make a lot of decisions and we have votes, and we're not always a 7-0 board. Okay. My thought is if you didn't agree with a decision, but you were on the minority side, how do you work with the group? How, in your current situation, how do you deal with moving forward? Or, do you continue to, yes, let me start with them. So if you're on the smaller side, okay, there's 4-3 vote, you're one of those 3 people. My question is, can you or should you move forward with that decision with the board as a whole, or how do you handle that process?
There's a point in time in this whole process, there's 7 people, 7 different thoughts, and when it comes to a vote, you decide. You have the time prior to that decision-making process that you get to try and get your point across as best you can. That's the whole reason you have an opinion, that's the discussion, that's the whole process of going through it. When the vote's taken, though, the board has spoken. And so 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, 7-0, regardless of what that is, it's, in my idea, is that's the board moves on. You have a responsibility, and that's how this system works, that once a decision is made, you fall in line with the decision and you move forward. I don't think it does any good to sabotage or work in any way to hinder the effectiveness of the decision-making process once the decision is made. I just don't believe in it. It doesn't make for good long-term relationships, and it doesn't allow itself to get to a trust and get into a collaborative state that is essential when you're starting to make hard decisions and working with other folks too. Any type of a fracture or factions, I just don't believe it sets a good precedent, nor does it reflect well on the people that are trying to advance ultimately the vision and are setting the standards for everybody else.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Randy, we're through the formal part of our questions. What we're doing is giving everybody a 2-minute closing. If there's anything you'd like to let us know about that possibly hasn't come out in any of the questions that you have been asked and answered so far this evening, feel free to let us know now.
I do appreciate the opportunity to have come before and had the chance to interview with you. You've got a lot of strong candidates, and I think this bodes well for our community, that we've got as many people coming forward to, and especially in these times, to try and help out. I do want to say that I think what I bring to this process is not only is a strong management background, but also too I have taught, and I have had the pleasure of being a teacher, serving for 5 years with University of Detroit Mercy. I also oversaw our corporate training area for a couple of years too. So I get the activity of learning, and I feel, you know, it's important beyond what any of us can even imagine. Ongoing life experience that we're constantly learning, and I think we have to just be grateful that this community has a strong school system, and it reflects so well for what we're all trying to do, which is make sure that our kids are getting the best. So I think that pretty much sums it.
Great. Well, thank you
I
so
heard
much.
the dinging, so.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here this
Thank you
evening
very much,
for
too.
your application. If you'd like to have a seat in the audience.